Hey there, this is Natalie, and well, we hoped this episode was going to be a banger, and it delivered. I've just watched Attack on Titan Season 4 Episode 5, or Episode 64 of the whole series if you prefer, and as always I'm here to go through the episode with a recap and analysis. But if you want my first impressions, I just have to say that was just as impactful and tense as I was really hoping it would be. With the way the suspense was built up about the festival and just what Willie Tybur was planning to do in Season 4 Episode 4, along with that post-credits scene with Eren and Reiner's reunion to add to the tension, there was some huge expectations for Episode 5, both among anime-only fans who didn't know what was going to happen, but could tell it was going to change everything, and among manga readers who knew this arc was about to get really crazy. I hope you guys will tell me in the comments what you thought of it, but for me, this was a really impressive episode, and I'm really looking forward to discussing it. It's been a long 2 weeks since Attack on Titan Season 4 Episode 4, and an eventful one for the series too, with the announcement that the Shingeki no Kyojin manga will be ending in April, as well as the latest chapter being released. By the way, if you are an Attack on Titan manga reader, you can also check out my video about chapter 136 if you haven't already. And whether you're anime only or ahead in the source material, please consider giving this video a like and subscribing if you want to see more of my Attack on Titan content or my content about other anime, including ReZero. Subscribing really helps me out and I need the love. So please think about hitting the subscribe button and ringing the bell too, so you get notified when I upload new anime content. And with that YouTuber stuff out of the way, let's get straight into the festival. As always with these videos I make right after my first viewing of a new Attack on Titan episode, there won't be any spoilers from further on in the manga, but I will be discussing the episode scene by scene, so only watch it if you've already seen Season 4 Episode 5, otherwise it will spoil every single thing in it. The episode began with a brief flashback scene to Annie, Bertholdt and Reiner during their time on Paradis Island, where they talk about a man who told them a story about what had happened to him on the day they had attacked Wall Maria, and then hung himself. We only saw a brief glimpse of this incident in the backstory portion in episode 3, but the man's story ended up being the one that they used as their own backstory when asked where they came from after joining the training corps. They talk about why he might have told them this story before killing himself and speculate that perhaps he wanted someone to judge him. Then we cut to Eren and Reiner, and it's clear the parallels between that man and Reiner, who we saw contemplating suicide in episode 3. But perhaps both Eren and Reiner are looking to the other to judge them in this moment. Next we see that Willie Tybur is preparing to go on stage, and he's clearly very nervous. We admittedly haven't seen much of him, but from the confidence he showed in dealing with all of the dignitaries at the party in his honour in the last episode, it seems like it's unusual for him to be showing his nerves, especially when we see him talk to Madame Azumabito, who we can tell is one of the important dignitaries invited to witness whatever it is that he's going to announce here. She was the lady in the white kimono who stopped Udo from getting into trouble after he spilled wine on her, and here she shows support for Willie, saying that her clan know of his bravery. We also see Eren and Reiner's scene continue, intercut with what's happening with Willie, giving the sense that this is all happening at the same time, right before Willie is set to go on stage. Falco is frightened and concerned that his friend, Mr. Kruger, who told him he was an old friend of Reiner's, is managing to create such a tense atmosphere. Eren explains ominously that where they are is close to the stage, and that there are people packed into the homes above them waiting to watch. He also has a cut on his hand, which Falco notices, and he tells him not to worry about it, but as a warrior candidate who presumably knows more about Titan shifters than the average person, Falco may be starting to worry about what that injury might mean. Reiner certainly gets it, urging Falco to stay there and do what Eren says. Watching the stage, we first see Reiner's mother, Karina, talking to Annie's adopted father, Mr. Leonhardt. They talk about how Bertholdt's father, Mr. Hoover, has died, but that he was proud of his son's sacrifice. Karina is about to say something similar about Annie's sacrifice, but her father stops her, insisting that Annie isn't dead because she promised she would come home. Well, as far as we know at this point, Annie is still alive, but has preserved herself in crystal and is being held by the military on Paradis Island, so it will be interesting to see if she ever gets to keep her promise and see her dad again. We also see where Captain Magath is watching the stage, him commenting on how he can't believe a declaration of war is going to be made in an internment zone. And then we see the warrior candidates and Titan shifters, with of course Reiner and Falco missing from the group. They're impressed by the attendance of all the dignitaries and press from around the world, and seem to still be in fairly good spirits, having just been enjoying the festival as we saw them doing in the last episode. But as the fanfare welcomes Willie Tybur to the stage to begin his performance, the warriors are summoned by Captain Magath and immediately leave their seats, while Willie comes on stage and takes a bow. Eren and Reiner, with Falco still there, listen in uncomfortable silence as it all begins. And then Reiner asks Eren why he's there, Reiner shaking uncontrollably throughout the whole encounter. Eren, who is much calmer, says he's there for the same reason as Reiner, because he had no choice. Then he simply says they should listen. On the stage, Willie has prepared a whole performance with shadow puppets and actors, telling the history of the Eldian atrocities. He says that the Eldian Empire killed enough people to wipe out humanity 3 times over during their reign, and then turned on each other until a hero rose up. This seems to be the story that the people listening to it already know of their world, so far at least, as neither the foreign dignitaries, the Marleyans, or the Eldians seem shocked by it. He continues, talking about how the hero Helos had the Eldians killing each other, and with the help of his family, the Tybars, they managed to get King Fritz to flee to Paradis Island. Again, this seems to be the history the people know. But then he talks about there being tens of millions of Titans inside the walls there, which were put there to trample upon the earth and destroy it if the king gave the order. And it seems that this was not something the people knew about by the horror on the faces of those watching. Willie here is trying to frame Paradis Island as the threat the people should unite against, just as Zeke was convincing the Marleyan brass that they should be trying to do in episode 2. Willie tells the people assembled there about the failure of the Marleyan mission to reclaim the founding Titan, who can activate the Titans in the wall. Presumably, these were all military secrets before, and as he talks about how the armoured Titan was the only one to return, we first see the uncomfortable reaction of Annie's father, who's still watching beside Reiner's mother. But then it's back to Eren, who asks Reiner if that was why he did it, whether he was trying to save the world when he destroyed the wall that day. Now we see the warriors who were summoned away, supposedly by Magath, and Pieck and Galliard are being led off on their own by a soldier with a beard, who Pieck thinks she recognises. The soldier refuses to talk to them and say where she might know him from though, using the excuse of them being Eldians. Pieck spots some of her friends in the Panzer unit and runs over and hugs one of them for a suspiciously long time. She says this is because the guys ride her when she's in her cart Titan form, so she needs to create a good bond with them. But Galliard points out that the hug just seems to have made the other Panzer guys jealous of the one that she gave it to, who looks fairly stunned. Hopefully she was up to something here, because the next thing they know, the bearded soldier is cutting a rope and sending Galliard and Pieck tumbling down into a pit beneath a trapdoor. Meanwhile, Falco is wondering why Reiner is so afraid, thinking that Kruger had said he was an old friend. But it begins to dawn on him that if he's an old friend from more than 4 years ago, he could be someone from Paradis Island. Thinking about this at the very same time as Willie is still on stage talking about how dangerous Paradise and its Eldians are, naturally, Falco gets increasingly freaked out. But now, in the second part of the episode, Willys' speech takes a turn that shocks people in the audience. He reveals the history that's been passed down through his family in the memories of the Warhammer Titan, which they possess. The hero, Hellos, never existed and was a fabrication made up by Willys' ancestor and King Fritz. King Fritz being the true saviour of humanity, who chose to flee to the island with as many Eldians as he could and keep them there within the walls, to live a life free of conflict and to rid the rest of the world of any further Eldian oppression. This version of history is in line with what we learned about the royal family within the walls in Season 3, that the person with the founding Titan inherits the will of King Fritz, and this is why nobody in the Rice family could ever take up arms after gaining its memories. As people try to understand this revelation, that Marley never saved the world, that Hellos had been a lie, that the people of Paradise that they've hated and feared for so long were not the same as they believed, their reactions are shown, with some people like Gabby looking especially horrified. Magath is alerted that the warriors and the soldier who've been sent to get them have gone missing, and we see an ominous shot of him wondering if it has begun. Next we see what happened to Pieck and Galliard, who are inside of a narrow pit, their Titan abilities helping them to heal from injuries sustained from the fall. Pieck points out that this is a classic trap used against Titan Shifter warriors because it's too small for a Titan Shifter to transform in. She also repeats that she's sure she's seen that bearded soldier before. Willie, having just revealed his family's history and heroic fame to all be based on lies, seems to be gearing up for the biggest moment of his speech now, and it seems that whatever it was he was so nervous about at the start wasn't the revelations we've already seen him deliver to his public. And he's right to be nervous, because Willie is about to announce just who this declaration of war is against. Not Paradise Island, not any nation, but just Eren Jaeger. As he tells the audience of Eren, who has the power of the founding Titan, but not the royal blood that keeps him bound to King Fritz's will, he describes the ultimate threat that Eren has the power to unleash: the rumbling. The rumbling is a term to get used to from here on out, and refers to the march of the tens of millions of Titans sealed within the walls on the island, potentially wiping out the world. Willie tells the terrified people of all different nations that there will be nothing anybody can do if Eren decides to trigger the rumbling, and pleads with them to lend their strength to the cause of stopping Eren Jaeger. Meanwhile, Eren has unbound the leg he cut off as part of his disguise as Kruger, and as he watches the leg growing back, Falco asks Eren why he used him, and learns that the letters he was delivering for his friend Kruger were actually making their way to Eren's comrades. Eren, though, doesn't seem to bear Falco any ill will, apologising for it, but saying that he needed him. Now he and Reiner have an emotional exchange as they talk about why Eren's mother was eaten that day. Reiner, who we know was already racked with guilt at everything that had happened before this, insists to Eren that it was all his fault, that Annie and Bertolt had wanted to go back, but that he'd wanted to be a hero. Reiner falls to his knees and tells Eren to kill him, even though Eren says that now he's spent time among the people in Marley, he knows that they're just people, not the enemies he'd imagined before. He repeats to Reiner that they're the same, and offers him his hand to help him up. But Willie now is reaching the climax of his speech, and with tears in his eyes as he says that he doesn't want to die, even though he's an Eldian, because he was born into this world. But Eren feels the same way. As Marleyan soldiers, presumably sent by Magath, who's learned that his warriors have gone missing, find the doorway to where Eren, Falco and Reiner are, Eren quite spectacularly transforms into the Attack Titan. We see the horror on Willie's face as he looks up at the Attack Titan, which promptly picks him up and prepares to devour him. And that is where the episode ends. I know a lot of people think that Willie himself is the holder of the Warhammer Titan, and if that's the case, then he probably won't let himself be eaten without a fight. Or if it really is one of his family who has this power, we can expect them to transform and try to save him now. Either way, there's a good chance that we're going to see the Warhammer Titan, the only one of the Titan shifters we haven't seen yet, assuming there really are 9, in the next episode. But it also seems like Magath is tipped off that something like this might happen, and while Pieck and Galliard are out of action for now, we don't really know where Zeke is. And Reiner, of course, could also transform and fight Eren here, though whether he would be of a mind to do that after the conversation they just had remains to be seen. It's also interesting to speculate about that bearded soldier. It seems, given he had a trap specifically prepared for Titan shifters and used it to get Pieck and Galliard out of the way, that he is working with Eren. But where's Zeke? And why would Eren's plan only account for keeping Pieck, Galliard and Reiner out of the way for his big moment? Also, just who's been receiving Eren's letters? Has he notified all of his friends in the Survey Corps about this plan? And are we going to see them soon? Are they in support of whatever his goal is here? And of course, the biggest question of all, the rumbling. Eren says dryly in this episode that he's the bad guy and might destroy the world. But is that really his intention? Would he really cause millions of Titans to flatten all of the world except for Paradis Island? It seems like he doesn't have the same hatred for the rest of the world that he had at the end of Season 3 before the time skip. But what's the truth? If Eren doesn't intend to destroy Marley and beyond it, then why is he appearing here on the day Willie announces him as the enemy of humanity and essentially declaring himself to be just that? For an episode that was all about a long-hidden truth being revealed to the world, there are so many new questions raised that I really can't wait to see what people's thoughts are on them. As always with my anime-only safe videos, please discuss the episode all you want in the comments. But if you want to talk about manga spoilers, just make sure you put in a spoiler warning and some line breaks, so the comment needs to be expanded to be read. I do read all the comments and I'm happy to discuss stuff, but I don't want anyone to be spoiled just by glancing at the comments section for a video, so stick to that format and all is good. And so that was Season 4, Episode 5. And honestly, I feel like this was peak Attack on Titan. Whether it's wit or mappa, this series really shines when it's at its most intense. Whether it's due to suspense and revelations that keep things constantly changing, or to the high-stakes action scenes. And with this episode, I really feel like everybody involved brought their A-game on the suspense and tension side of things, which really is what the source material for this part of the story demanded. In the next episode, no doubt we'll get to see some of that intense action too. So what did you guys think about the episode? Let me know down below, and once again, please subscribe and join me again next time. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you again very soon.